It's a beautiful day to be alive, and the weekend has been refreshing and healing for the most. We are grateful to be alive this Monday morning. My name is Uyai Aniekan, and this is Rise and Shine. We're coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. It's great to have you on the other side. Good morning.
And good morning to you, and Francis. Glad to be here again on Rise and Shine.
Yeah, of course, we'd like for you to follow us across all the social media platforms. You can find all that at spectrumtv.ng. Of course, we'd also have our phone lines displayed on the screen, so feel free to call in and make your contributions when the phone lines are thrown open. You can also send us WhatsApp and text messages so we can, read them on air and let us know what your contributions are across all the issues that will be brought here. Of course, on Rise and Shine, we bring you topical issues happening across the country, in-depth conversations covering issues and matters arising out of our nation, as we go. But this past weekend, what really happened? What was the gist? I think the one of the biggest experiences over the weekend was the fact that money seemed to be a little more available. A little more available, because I think that was on Friday or Thursday. The CBN governor had actually said the Central Bank of Nigeria is going to be voting more money to the commercial banks, and we actually did see that there was a little more access, to money. The queues on the ATM machines have actually dropped, and then there were some commercial banks that even offered services over the course of the weekend. Saturday, Sunday, some banks were operational, and so it's been really good so far. It's really lightening the burden on Nigerians, and people seem to just find their way back to that seamless life.
Well, I wouldn't say people are finding their way back yet, because if you look at the streets of your Akwa Ibom State, for instance, where we reside, yesterday was a tough one for me personally. I had to go through a couple of banks, and still I was not able to get cash. And then the online transaction was just something else.
Oh, that's been a major burden.
Majorly, practically had to wait for hours without transactions being confirmed, and that is still an issue. I mean, if we have to go full-time cashless policy in Nigeria, then we're still having these conversations about mobile transactions not going through. It simply goes to tell that probably the banks in Nigeria are ready. We are not ready as a country as far as the banking sector is concerned to go full cashless policy. But if you have to also look at the operationality of the commercial banks, I'll give it to them. For this weekend, yeah, some of them have tried. Keeping your bank open on Saturday and Sunday is an extra sacrifice that is worth commendation. It's gone a long way to help lessen the pain. I hope they sustain that at least for the time being until Nigerians get back fully on track. That for me would really help, because people who before now would not be able to, or could not be able to access money, had to use the Saturday and Sunday, the weekend, to begin to queue. And even at that, not everybody got it, as they would have wanted. But it's a good development, and it shows that
I still didn't get access to cash though. I just heard that people did. I didn't have, so I still don't have cash. So it's a different ballgame altogether. But I know it was majorly lighter for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like you said, we still have those e-transfers. Still a major burden for people. You still have to wait up, around 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. be timing it to make transfers. So it's like a major problem so far. But then the intensity of those political activities that we would hear over the weekend is also simmering down. We're just all heading more towards election tribunals, and post-election conversations. And we know that one person that has seemed to put himself, on the front burner of conversations also, of which he did not also disappear over the weekend, is the likes of Festus Keyamo, SAN. He's still keeping himself in the middle of all of the controversial conversations around the aftermath of the presidential elections varying. So these are, we didn't quite have, when you're like, we're waiting for Monday morning, the story is gonna break. It's simmering down. But then this week is the week that INEC from Wednesday is going to be giving out the return certificate to those that have become, elect in different positions, gubernatorial elect across the 28 states that the elections, occurred, and also the state houses of assembly from Wednesday through to Friday now. Return certificates are going to be given to them.
Well, that's a major development. I mean, of course, as far as the provisions of INEC is concerned, they have a couple of 14 days. They have a couple of 14 days to issue certificates of return to all the persons who have been returned governor-elect and deputy governor-elect and state house of assembly-elect. And of course, they have stated 28, 29, 29, 30th, and 31st rather as the day for the certificate to be issued respectively to these persons who have been returned elected. And of course, that's going to happen across the respective states of the Federation, minus Kwara State, which of course we're still having issues with Benani calling for the issue of reviewing over 16 local government election result following the declaration of the result in that state inconclusive by INEC. And that yet is another very major twist, because recall, Nigerians the world over had already begun to celebrate her as the first democratically elected female deputy, female governor of a state, and it was history being made. So upturning that just within the course of a short possible time has raised a lot of questions as to, the credibility of INEC. Put that side by side, with all the political development. Fani-Kayode, following the UK's announcement of 10 Nigerians on its list, have been a major issue also. And then he's trying to say, I'm not ready to, be boxed in by the foreign embassies. I'm not ready to be boxed in by the foreign allies. I'm not going to allow anybody to intimidate me about, what is happening. But the likes of Fani-Kayode and Festus Keyamo have been consistently on the, front burner as far as the election period is concerned. And then one would be wondering what exactly might be going through their minds. But one thing is evident: if the US and the UK, for instance, are able to ban these crop of politicians who, one way or the other, have been fingered as being responsible for electoral violence or issues, relating to electoral violence, then I think we will be able to begin to see some level of sanity on political system, because these people breed, they live, they practically reside outside the shores of Nigeria.
Exactly.
So putting an embargo on their ability to move around outside the shores of Nigeria to a large extent would be a good deterrent for me.
Yes, as of last week, we had actually heard the UK say they are compiling a list of persons that they are going to be looking into in terms of banning their visas because of, election related issues, whether it's those that, enhance the perpetration of violence, or people that, through their words incited any kind of violence across the country during the just concluded cycle of election. We had actually had the United Kingdom say they are putting together a list to slam certain national elites for, on visa ban. Now, the mission had between 5 and 10 names on its list already, adding that more would, still be added. The Deputy High Commissioner to Nigeria, Ben Jones, spoke on a current affairs. I mean, he spoke, during the course of the week, saying that certain people have been, listed. Now, with the listing, that's Fani-Kayode, right? So Fani-Kayode has already come out to say that, hey, the United Kingdom cannot intimidate him. No postulated list by the United Kingdom can, sway him at this point. He's just going to continue with his activities.
Well, if there is anything that Fani-Kayode's statement has pointed out to Nigerians and the foreign embassies is that he's already a threat. I mean, if you were not a threat, your name has not even been listed yet, or nobody.
Yeah,
I mean, they have not
because
pointed out the names
UK
yet.
has actually said they're not going to put the list of persons out there as expected. It's not like we're going to find somewhere on the internet where we have, oh, the UK has said Francis and yeah, I cannot travel to the United Kingdom because of this. So it's more like it's going to be an internal work happening. Maybe you would just be served later, but of course.
Well, Nigerians actually would want to see those lists being
we
published.
might eventually,
naturally.
we'll get to hear, but we will not see the UK publish.
Well, I hope they listen to us right now and get to publish the list so that Nigerians would know for a fact that they're actually serious. Because what that would do for Nigerians would mean, okay, you have the list published by the UK, and then Nigerians will be monitoring, day-to-day activities of these personalities whose names have been published to see whether or not they actually have been able to travel outside the shores of Nigeria. But peradventure, if the US and the UK and all the foreign agencies are able to publish the names of people they have found culpable or they have found fingered in the just concluded elections as far as violence, voter intimidation, voter apathy, and other related electoral offenses are concerned, that will further boost the confidence of Nigeria in the foreign embassies and foreign organizations, and that would also significantly take away the consciousness or the mindset from Nigerians who feel that maybe most times when the foreign election observers come into Nigeria, they just come in for mere formality's sake. At the end of the day, nothing comes out of their observation. So having something like that where you publish the list, Nigerians get to see the list, and they get to see the marching order, the marching implementation of the sanctions, it would go a long way to restore the confidence of Nigerian on the foreign observers.
We haven't finished gaining the confidence that we need in our federal system. You're talking about gaining confidence in the international community.
Well, that has a lot. That has a lot.
It does, but really, it's like you're stretching to a covering that is not immediate, because I know that it looks lofty, but whether or not these people have visa bans, does it fix the wrath that we experienced during the election? I know that the UK has clearly criticized Fani-Kayode over controversial comments that he made throughout the election time, but a visa ban, it is good, and now we are not saying it's not a good move by the international community. But to what extent, how much of an impact will that have on, our polity, right, at this time? Is it more like, okay, once our elites know that, oh, they will not have the United Kingdom or the US to run to when things get heated up, then they will try to fix our country? We do not know.
It might happen like that. Now, let's take a cue from the health sector, for instance. Let's say 90% of our politicians are banned from traveling outside the shores of Nigeria. India, US, UK, America, all of those places. That means you've taken away the access to tourism or medical tourism. So they're going to want to sit back and fix the medical sector in Nigeria so that they will have somewhere to be taken care of. So in the long run, if that should actually happen, if the foreign organizations, the foreign embassies, the different countries are able to place that level of ban and restriction on these top politicians found culpable, to a large extent, I think that would do well for Nigerians. Might not be immediately, but in the long run, it will do a lot for Nigerians. It will be a situation where they know that, if the country is heated up, we don't have anywhere to run to. So we are going to be stuck in the same country with the rest of Nigerians. Take your mind back to the Kuje Correctional Facility terrorist attack. And then shortly after that, the tension that, spread out across the Federal Capital Territory. For the first time in Nigeria, we saw our legislatures rise up to the occasion. For the first time, we saw a threat to impeach the president. For the first time. Because their safety were at stake. Because they knew they were no longer safe in the Federal Capital Territory. And so it was not just about the common Nigerian on the streets of Abuja. It was about a collective security. And they knew if these guys came into the picture, they were not going to target just the regular Nigerians. They themselves were the targets. So when you place that side by side with other things that have happened in Nigeria, you can, look at the analysis and say, okay, if the foreign organizations, if the UK, the US, and other, foreign observers are able to place and implement, because it's not just about placing the ban, but actually being able to implement those bans on this group of politicians, then Nigeria would have taken another step, or might have gotten another step closer to fixing some of the challenges that we're having.
Okay, so now in response to the UK envoy about, criticizing Fani-Kayode's activities during the just concluded cycle of elections, Fani-Kayode himself came out to respond to the envoy. Now, of course, he's the former aviation minister, and he faulted the British Deputy High Commissioner to Nigeria, Ben Llewellyn-Jones, over the latter's veiled visa ban threat. Now, this he also said that he would not accept being told how he would talk or address issues pertaining to Nigeria in Nigeria by a British civil servant. So we are still having, him, dole out words right there. Now, the UK envoy had, while speaking in an interview, said, he revealed that 10 people were on his visa ban watch list. Those on the list, he claimed, were people who allegedly undermined democracy in Nigeria. He also faulted Fani-Kayode, who is the All Progressives Congress Presidential Campaign Council's Director of New Media, on some comments he made recently. So, but reacting to Llewellyn-Jones, Fani-Kayode said he would not accept lessons on decency from a foreigner. Now, in a series of tweets on his Twitter handle on Sunday, the former minister said Nigeria stopped being a British colony 63 years ago, and we need no lessons from him on how to run our affairs or conduct our politics. Now, he wonders who Llewellyn-Jones thinks he is. I am not one of those Nigerians that bows, shakes, shivers and trembles before the British or indeed any other foreigner. And unlike most, I do not need any validation or endorsement from him, or neither his country can I be intimidated, or neither can I be intimidated by his veiled threat of a visa ban. Frankly, now he said, I could not care less. Now that's the whole Fani-Kayode out there. Right now it's more like a foreign body and a foreign nation cannot come and dictate to him on his home soil how he will speak.
It's laughable to hear that coming from Fani-Kayode. And I mean, you're telling Nigerians that we had long been liberated from slavery, but the big question we should ask, are we truly liberated from slavery? If we look at ourselves today and look at how we were when we were being colonized by the British government, what's the difference? What significant difference have we been able to make in terms of, putting our house together, in terms of our institutions, in terms of how we govern ourselves? A lot of persons, if you listen to the words in the streets within these just concluded elections, are even campaigning for for Nigeria to be colonized again, or for the military to take over.
No way.
That's because the people who are civilians, the people who should be projecting democracy, have completely failed.
No way. We have our own solutions. That's like running to. We like extremes. That extreme is too far.
No, that's extremes. Yes, I totally agree with you. But let's look at the reality on ground. Fani-Kayode from the PDP attacking the APC, and then crossed over to the APC, and now attacking the PDP. So whose interest is this protecting? To whose advantage? To whose detriment? Is it himself?
It's per party per time.
So it's per party per time. So at this point, it's no longer the APC. It is now the PDP and others who are under attack.
Yeah.
But is there any person in this country who should be above the law?
Actually,
there is absolutely nobody who should be above the law. If we trace the history, look at the antecedent, look at the different languages, the different statements that Fani-Kayode has made within the course of this election, that can categorically be said to be hate speech.
It can heat up the country. Remember, he had actually said Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the just concluded cycle of election, that he had a secret meeting with generals of, in the country to plan a coup or something like that. And then he came out the next week, when the heat was trying to boil up, and say, oh no, it was not, that was not the case. Of course, the DSS had invited him over after that particular, tweet and speech by him, and then he came out with some cover story again over that particular issue. And now these are some of the things that, you know, the UK has spotlighted him on, some of the conversations that he has held in the past season.
Well, I'm still among the group of Nigerians who are waiting to see the outcome of that investigation, because the DSS had not told Nigerians whatever findings they were able to make. The police also invited him on the heels of that. We're here to see any statement coming from the police. But then Nigerians wonder if there'll ever be anything coming out from the police, because Fani-Kayode seems to be untouchable, just like MC Olomo of Lagos State seems to be untouchable, just like every other person who seems to be of the APC family. So when this group of persons already feel they are above the law, they are untouchable, they are out of reach as far as the law is concerned, what other hopes do we have? The only hope Nigerians have when our own federal government, where our own institution is failing us or are failing us, is to look up to the foreign organizations. So any ban imposed upon this group of persons, one way or the other, would do good. It would, if not for anything, cut away their arrogance and level of impunity when it comes to dealing with matters.
We are even talking of arrogance. Listening to Fani-Kayode's response to the UK Envoy already, it already reeks of a lot of arrogance. You know, like you rightly said, they have gotten away with a lot of this kind of verbal insinuations in the country, and there's been no checks put on them. So they just go about saying the things they want to say, and then today someone else who seems larger than life comes out and defends them, and then the circle just continues. But like you said earlier, you know, when I was questioning to what's how much effect would the visa ban from a foreign country, you know, have on these elites, like you're saying, at least it's more like, if your country will not punish you for, you know, some of these things that you have done. Bilateral relationships are important for the survival of any country and the survival of any economy. And sometimes, you know, the transactions that these people have with and from these foreign countries are part of the things that help them to be sustainable elites. If it's taken away from them, maybe to serve as, you know, a deterrent and a lesson to them. So I agree, you know, from that end, because it's more like, okay, in Nigeria, there's an unwritten code of people that cannot be, you know, handled by our jury system, by the security agencies. Because how do you say some things that can literally put two brothers against themselves, and then you're still moving on freely in the country? But basically, the United Kingdom has said they have a list of between 5 to 10 people that they have like on a watch list, and they are making investigations toward moving on a visa ban for their contributions against heating up the polity, instigating violence, or even being a part of violence during the last cycle of elections just completed in Nigeria. And also we had Lewin Jones, who is the High Commissioner of the UK to Nigeria, particularly spotlight Fani-Kayode for some of the speeches and conversations he held and tweets he made across this season. Of course, Fani-Kayode has also come out to respond to the Envoy, saying that he does not have any right as a foreigner to tell him how he's going to speak about matters in his country. But then we're going to move away from that particular story, and it seems like PDP is still having you know, in-house fracas, although the elections are done, but there still seems to be a lot of things, you know, coming out of PDP.
Well, the PDP is more or less like a house that has been divided against itself, and it's still being further divided against itself. And it's not out of place. It's not surprising to Nigerians that it's still going on. I mean, if the agreements that were being purportedly championed by the likes of Governor Nyesom Wike and the G5 had been sorted out, a lot of people are still of the opinion that perhaps the PDP would have had a stronger outing in the just concluded presidential election. But that didn't happen. And of course, the back-end story has been that the leadership of the PDP tilted towards one section of the Nigerian society, and then the G5 were of the opinion that power should balance in line with the constitution of the People's Democratic Party. Now, the fresh crisis in the opposition party took a new twist over the weekend when Benue State chapter of the party, Wards Executive National Chairman Iyocha Ayu, was suspended over what the party described as anti-party activities.
When?
So
after all this time.
Now, the interesting twist here is that this is coming just when the governor of Benue State, Samuel Otom, was referred to the party's disciplinary committee for probe over also what they call anti-party activities. Now, we all know Otom was in the party faction of Governor Nyesom Wike, yes, the G5 governor. So I'm sitting down and I'm reading the story and I'm asking, okay, so this is still another major power tussle within the People's Democratic Party. The G5 had taken their stand and they had maintained that stand till the very end of the election. The party on the other side had taken their stand and they've also maintained that stand till the very end of the elections. Now the elections are over. Recall that Governor Nyesom Wike had always said, I think the last statement he made last week thereabout was that they're going to chase Iyorchia Ayu away from the party. That was the last statement Governor Nyesom Wike made. And then shortly after that, the party came out to say they were going to discipline, the G5, and everybody found to have been involved in anti-party politics. And then shortly after that, we are seeing the word, and of course, coming out to suspend the chairman of the party,
which was basically, Iyorchia Ayu was the bedrock of the internal crisis the People's Democratic Party had. I mean, the likes of Governor Nyesom Wike spearheaded the whole move of the G5 because they were asking that Iyorchia Ayu be removed as the chairman of the People's Democratic, national chairman of the People's Democratic Party. And that whole conversation took the entire campaign season. The elections came and went. The People's Democratic Party did not do anything about it. But now there has been a move to actually suspend Iyorchia Ayu. But the crux of the matter is that, the PDP has vowed to probe the move of Benue State to actually suspend, Iyorchia Ayu. Whether this suspension holds sway, it sounds more like the move by Benue State to suspend Iyorchia Ayu has a strong, implication, because why then, if not, why then is the People's Democratic Party vowing to make sure that they probe into the alleged move to suspend the national chairman? Well,
party is supreme, they say, but politics is local, okay? So politics is local. Now, if you're a card-carrying member of any political party, it comes straight down to your word. It starts from the local. So when you have a problem with the local, then it means that the national can't do anything about it.
They can't uphold you.
Exactly. So it means the upstates cannot do anything. You bring that down to Akwa Ibom State over the issue of Obong Kanudofia and the APC after he, cross-carpeted from the PDP to the APC. Now, the party at the state level began to have issues and said he was not a member. But when evidence surfaced at the ward level, as at the time of his registration, with details of that registration, that case was struck out. So it became nothing. So
I think it's part of the case that Senator Etainang also had. The fact that there was a move from his ward to suspend him also.
Exactly. So now, once your ward suspends you successfully, then you cease to have the relevance at the national level, because you cease. Let's say that suspension is stayed. Let's say you're even expelled from the party at the ward level. It therefore means everything you're doing at the national level, you're just there as maybe you can exist as anybody. So it's happened to different persons. It's happened to Oshomola. It's happened to different politicians over time.
So that move that was made to remove what's his name now?
Adams Oshomola.
So what my question now is, if this was a move available, if this was a card available in the puzzle, why didn't Benue State move this when the G5 governors were making the agitations?
Well, maybe they were not ready for that move. Maybe they were hoping that the party would understand. Maybe they kept it as, maybe they had that as the last card to save and to defend themselves. Because as it stands, there is no decision that is taken by the Iyorchia Ayu-led leadership of the party that would affect the rest of the people. And it's like a strategic move. You're planning to probe me for anti-party politics, and I'm probing you already at the ward level for anti-party activities. So that invalidates whatever you're going to do at the national level, and then keeps me in my comfort zone, in a safe place. It's a perfect move for the G5, if you ask me. It's a perfect move, and the PDP still has a lot to sort out, and that of course is outside the fact that they still have a case in court.
You know, of course, they are part of the political parties filing certain suits against the just concluded rounds of elections. But that's a lot of conversation to have, and we have more things lined up for you on Rise and Shine this morning. You actually want to be a part of this show, but at this time, we do have Mary Joseph on standby to bring us tidbits of global news. When we return from the news brief, Rise and Shine continues. To stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon. Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Government, Secretary General, delegates.
This was the Lagos, Nigeria today as we want to recover 45 seats still counting.
A very good morning to you and welcome to your morning news brief and Spectrum. Live from Uyo, I am Mary Joseph. We begin our news brief this morning with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, which has budgeted over 3 billion naira to defend the result of the February 25 and presidential and National Assembly elections and the March 18th governorship and state assembly polls. Recall that several candidates who lost in the elections have filed petitions at the Presidential and State Election Petition Tribunal to challenge the outcome of the polls. So far, over 100 election petitions have been filed by the aggrieved candidates and their parties across the country. Away from that, crisis in the opposition People's Democratic Party has taken a new twist as the Benue State chapter at the party's ward executive have suspended the party's national chairman, Senator Yocha Ayu Vrangadiya Doyum, who spoke on behalf of the ward chairman, Kashi Philip, said Ayu was suspended for the anti-party activities. Report says that Ayu's suspension came barely a few days after the party's National Working Committee referred the state governor, Samuel Otom, to the party's disciplinary committee for probe over alleged anti-party activities. Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Nigeria has released more old notes to deposit money banks, the BMs, as the Apex Bank step up efforts to flood the economy with more cash after a prolonged cash crunch that has made life difficult for millions of Nigerians and residents. Reports say the CBN had on Thursday begun the release of billions of naira to DMBs. Meanwhile, several branches of banks across the nation opened over the weekend and dispensed cash to their customers via automated teller machines and over-the-counter. In the meantime, no fewer than 594 rehabilitated Boko Haram members have graduated from federal government's Operation Safe Corridor, the radicalization, rehabilitation and reintegration camps in Malam Sidi Kwami local government area of Gombe State. Speaking during the graduation ceremony, the camp commandant, Colonel Uche Nabuhe, said 15 clients hailed from Adamawa, 495 from Borno, 16 from Yobe, 16 from Kano, 3 from Gombe, 13 from Kaduna, 1 from Kogi, while 12 from Bauchi, 5 from Jigawa, 5 from Katsina, 5 from Kebbi, 1 from Nasarawa, 1 from Plateau, while 2 are from Zamfara State, adding that they have apologized to Nigerians. On the foreign scene, Japan's government has urged China on Monday to release the Japanese man detained in Beijing this month for allegedly breaking domestic laws. Japanese government spokesman Harukazu Masuno told reporters that Tokyo's embassy in Beijing were informed that this month that there was a Japanese man in his 50s and was detained in Beijing for breaking China's domestic laws. And finally, in sports, Super Eagles striker Terry Murphy is confident that the three-time African champions will bounce back and get their 2023 Africa Cup of Nations qualifying campaign back on track when they face Guinea-Bissau in the second leg of the Group A doubleheader at the Estadio 24D Stembro today. The three-time Africa champions were stunned in Abuja last Friday as they fell to a 1-0 defeat at the Wild Dog courtesy of a Mama Blade 29th minute strike. The Friday's defeat against the Jettas was a new low for the Eagles and coach Jose Peseiro, who so far have been underwhelming since taking over the Eagles job last May. We'll have details of this and more in our news at 12. I am Mary Joseph. Let's head back to Rise and Shine, where we have Francis and Uyai on standby. Do have a wonderful morning.
Government, Secretary General, delegates.
Disasters being Lagos, Nigeria today as Spectrum wants to recover 45 seats in counting.
Glad to welcome you back. It's still Rise and Shine, coming to you live on Spectrum Television. Of course, we're beaming live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. And yes, today we've been talking about the different development from the world of politics. We started off by bringing to you the update on the EU, who has said they have between 5 and 10 names on its list of Nigerians who have been fingered in the just concluded elections as being the perpetrators or sponsors of violence and, of course, other electoral offenses. And Fani-Kayode just came out to respond to that, telling the Envoy that he's not afraid, and of course he doesn't belong to the group of Nigerians who can be told what to do by foreigners. And we looked at those statements side by side with his involvement and the different statements he has made over time within the course of the election. And of course, we have to go through the provisions, the items on what Nigeria called the hate speech, which of course, if we trail a mind back, led to the banning of Twitter by the federal government. One would say Fani-Kayode has been found wanting as far as the provisions of the hate speech law is concerned. But would there be a prosecution for Fani-Kayode? It's going to be a walk in the park like we've seen over time in Nigeria when it comes to people who are within the APC family, because it seems the federal government over time has not done anything to address issues and infractions when it comes to people who are within the APC fold. We also talked about the fact that over the weekend, Nigerians began to have a sigh of relief as far as the Naira crisis is concerned, as we had deposit money banks opened over the weekend to, give money to their customers from over the counter, and also mostly fill their ATM machines with cash. Be that as it may, Nigerians are expecting that we get to see a lot more of such services in the coming days, so that Nigerians can get back to enjoying their normal life. And that is coming on the heels of the CBN releasing more money to deposit money banks across the respective states of the Federation. They did it on Thursday, did it again on Friday, and of course that necessitated the banks staying open on Saturday and Sunday. We'll get to monitor the development across the respective state and see how that goes. And of course, we also brought to your notice the fact that in as much as the deposit money banks were open, we also had still issues of online transaction, which of course the CBN governor, Godwin Mefile, had before now apologized to Nigerians. But Nigerians would say, we don't need an apology. We want to see e-transfers working. We want to see things return to normal, or even better than it was before the Naira redesign policy, which threw Nigerians into crisis and what we now call the cash crunch, which almost every Nigerian had to buy the Naira using the Naira. And yes, that and many more have been what we brought to you. And of course, we mentioned on the sidelines the crisis rocking the People's Democratic Party, with the state, the ward leadership in Benue State suspending Senator Iyocha Ayu over what they describe as anti-party politics or activities, coming on the heels of Governor Otum being referred by the national leadership to the disciplinary committee also for what they describe as anti-party politics. So we brought all of that to you, and we still have a lot more. And of course, you can stay glued to us on Spectrum Television. Don't forget, as far as Spectrum Television is concerned, you can get us on StarTimes DTH Channel 421, and of course we had also announced a new frequency for those who are yet to get. You can catch us on free-to-air symbol rate 3500 polarization V, and of course the frequency is 12733. 12733. That's the frequency you can catch us across the West Africa and of course in Nigeria. And you can also follow the conversations online at spectrumtv.ng, and we'll be delighted to have you send us a text message, a WhatsApp message, and of course join the conversations with the phone numbers on your screen.
All right, at this point we move straight on to our daily spotlight, where we bring you information of things on the front page of our national dailies. Of course, at this point, we will start with the Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper, and the very big story there on the front page of the Punch says, INEC votes 3 billion naira to fight electoral cases. APC, PDP, Labour Party differ on Commission's litigation budget. Litigation costly. Budgets may not be enough, says senior lawyers. PDP vows probe as Benue ward suspends IU. UK to sanction 10 Nigerians. Envoy chides Fani-Kayode. Political rascals Afenifere knocks Iwonyaun, demands Ohanese's clarification. Of course, we also have here Buhari, Obasanjo, Jonathan, others mourn as Dia dies at 78. Airfare soar as foreign airlines hike exchange rate. LASMA arrests fake official making 35,000 naira daily. Ramadan ex-governor donates 240 truck foodstuffs group to feed 2,000 daily, page 41. And that's what we have on the front page of the Punch newspaper.
Well, that takes us right into the Vanguard newspaper, where we'll be looking at the very big story there. You have UK, Afenifere, MBF, Pandev orders the cry ethnic profiling. UK, Afenifere, MBF, Pandev orders the cry ethnic profiling. That's the major story on the very front page of the Vanguard newspaper. And of course, other competing stories you have as the writer of that UK Fani-Kayode story, have British Envoy falls Fani-Kayode over inciting remarks, says 10 persons on visa ban watch list, condemns ethnic profiling, says Lagos should be cosmopolitan city, UK shouldn't interfere in Nigeria's affair, and Pandev. And then of course Fani-Kayode also said should learn from the envoy Ohanese. That's coming from the Ohanese, saying that Fani-Kayode should learn from the envoy. And that ethnic profiling and yield win Afenifere. That's coming from Afenifere, of course, on the issues of the elections. We head out to the PDP, which of course PDP crisis deepens as party suspends national chairman IU. PDP crisis deepens as party suspends national chairman Iyorchia Ayu. Still on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, we have a budget 2023 fears as oil price drops 3% to $73.87 per barrel. Fears as oil price dropped 3% to $73.87 per barrel. That is still on the front border of the Vanguard newspaper. And of course, CBN, why we introduced e-Naira. That's CBN trying to give Nigerians the reason why the e-Naira had to be brought into the Nigerian economy. And of course, troop kills ISWAP commander Abu Zara, 40 other terrorists in Borno State. Troops kill ISWAP commander Abu Zara, 40 other terrorists in Borno State. Federal government confirms May 3rd for commencement of 2023 census. You can find that on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. And of course, rule of law, anti-graft confirm asks Buhari to drop EFCC chairman. Anti-graft confirm asks Buhari to drop EFCC chairman. Those are the major stories you find on the front pages of the Vanguard newspaper. And to wrap it up on Financial Vanguard, it says scarcity of Naira note easing as banks comply with CBN's new directives. Scarcity of Naira notes easing as banks comply with CBN's new directives.
Okay, our very next paper is Daily Sun. On the front page of the Daily Sun also carries the UK places 10 Nigerians on visa watch list over ethnic profiling. Envoy says list still growing, insists chant of anti-Igbo slogan at polling units unacceptable. Wonders why APC didn't distance itself from Fani-Kayode's utterances. Atiku hails UK, says TSS must arrest ex-aviation minister for inciting Cummins. Iwonyaun didn't refer to Yoruba as political rascals or Hanese, page 26. That's definitely a story we are going to delve into just after this. It was on our lineup, and there seems to be a lot of worry around that, and clarifications are really necessary to be made. Of course, in one of the papers, I think it's Fani-Kayode now that has called the Igbo community to come and explain that particular conversation there by Iwanyanwu. But we'll get right to that. Address pains of Igbo. Oshun monarch urges Tinubu. Page 26. Election violence. Investigate governors, deputies, or face legal action, Serap tells INEC. Census. Federal government assures Nigerians have credible, acceptable exercise, page 27. Anti-corruption conference asks Buhari to protect the rule of law. Page 5 is where you can find that story. FEC, Buhari, Obasanjo, Jonathan, Tinubu, Kalu, governors mourn Dia. Page 28. Onyagu Zenith Bank boss bags UNN doctorate degree, page 2. We also have here CBN steps up efforts to end Naira scarcity, banks to increase dispensing of notes, page 20 and 25 is where you can find that particular story. More trouble for IU as NEC members back suspension by Benue PDP. Page 29 is where you can find that particular story. And that's all we can take that is available on the front page of Daily Sun.
Well, from Daily Sun, we move straight over to This Day newspaper, where we have the major story there still bordering on the elections, where APC, PDP are in verbal war over alleged plot to truncate Tinubu's inauguration. APC, PDP in verbal war over alleged plot to truncate Tinubu's inauguration. On the right there you see opposition parties can't stop May 29 handover, says ruling party. PDP vows not to be intimidated, says APC can't gag Nigerians. Atiku denies withdrawing petition and says outcome of presidential election illegitimate. You can find that on the front page of the These Days newspaper. And of course, we have Osibanjo condemns discrimination against Igbo. Osibanjo condemns discrimination against Igbo. Page 6 has that story. DSS, we won't tolerate political actors who champion anarchy. DSS, we won't tolerate political actors who champion anarchy. And right at the top of This Day's newspaper, you have Beatrice Abayode, Africa's first female doctor of English literature, dies at 87. Funeral activities begin March 30th. We have Cash Crunch. Banks comply with CBN's directive, open in Lagos, Abuja, or the state. Still on the front page of These Days newspaper, you also have presenting the 1 year scorecard presenting 1 year scorecard. That story is coming from the governor of Anambra State, talking about Governor Professor Charles Soludo, the sitting governor of Anambra State, and his 1 year scorecard of the things he's been able to do for Anambra people. You can find that story still on the front page of the This Day newspaper on page 5. We'll give you very much details about it.
All right, we're going to take our very next paper, and that will be our last paper. That's the Nation newspaper. The big story on the Nation this morning says, post-poll crisis, are you under pressure to quit as PDP chair? Ward Exco suspends party boss, why he must go now by his deputy. APC clears Uzodinma, Silva, Lion, Adeyemi for primaries, page 5, why I dropped my ambition by Faleke. Donaldson Oladipo Dia, 1944 to 2023. His last moments by family friend, aide. Buhari, Tinubu, Lawan, Abiodun Sanwo-Olu, Uzodinma, Mark, FEC, others pay tribute. Odowolu, country home, quiet. We also have here NPC fixes May 3rd for population census. NAFDAC alert on records eye drop. Foreign reserves clipped by 1.43 billion US dollars in 10 weeks. UNN honors Zenith Bank CEO. We also have here how unbundling of railways power boost economy by experts. Devolution will encourage competition, enhance true federalism. 3.4 billion naira debt. Court blocks or your government's account in 4 banks. Page 27 is where you can find that particular story. And that's all that we have on the front pages of our national dailies this morning. But a lot of matters are rising, of course, a lot of things we want to look into. As a matter of main conversation, our focus this morning will actually be looking into the fact that INEC is voting 3 billion naira to fight electoral cases from the just concluded election cycle, and that's a big issue. We are going to have a conversation around that in depthly. But at this point, of course, we will take a quick break, and when we come back, we will be throwing open our phone lines so Nigerians can call. Several things on the front page of our newspapers, anything you particularly want to touch light on. But at this particular moment, we are going to be looking at the fact that there seems to be a misunderstanding about the speech of Iwanyanwu about the just concluded cycle of election and the Igbo hostilities going on. That is going to be something we'll be looking at when we throw open our phone lines, so do stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by across them. Our governors have to share police power with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding you, lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Welcome back. Of course, this is Rise and Shine, and we're coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Several conversations have been going on matters arising out of Nigeria at this time, but we want to remind you that we have a new frequency on free to air running on 12733. Our symbol rate remains 3500 and our polarization is V. So do well to rescan your decoder so that you can, catch us on free to air wherever you are around the country. But we've been having several conversations at this time. Our phone lines will soon be thrown open for, contributions on matters that we have seen rising on the front pages of our national dailies. But there's a major controversy that is brewing between the Fani-Kayode and the Ohaneze Ndigbo. But let's take a listen to this particular video and let's all have a verdict together.
We allow anybody to take the life of any innocent Igbo person. I want to let our people in Lagos to know that on Wednesday, I called a meeting of Ohaneze Council of Elders. I want to let our people in Lagos to know that on Wednesday, I called a meeting of Ohaneze Council of Elders worldwide, and we x-rayed the events in Lagos. And I want to tell you that we have people who attended the branches in America, in Canada, in Europe, in London, and Nigeria. We have resolved, and I want those from Lagos to go home and tell those in Lagos, we have resolved that never again can we allow anybody to take the life of any innocent Igbo person. All of us are going to fight the person. We are going to fight the person. Never again. We are in Nigeria and we have invested in Nigeria. Our investments are so much. We are not going to take the question of people telling us to go. We are not going anywhere. And I want to tell those in Lagos to realize that there is no war between us and Yorubas. Yorubas they're just political rascals, and we are going to handle them. The elders have directed Secretary General of Ohaneze Ndigbo, Emuche, to set up a commission of inquiry to find out things destroyed. People are going to pay.
Of course, that's Iwanyanwu right there speaking on the back of all of the things that have been happening to the Igbo extraction of Nigerians in the face of the just concluded cycle of elections. Now, this is bringing a lot of controversy, where we've even had on the front pages of our national dailies this morning the Fani-Kayode group asking that they come and explain that particular conversation there. Political rascals. Fani-Kayode knocks Iwanyanwu, demands Ohaneze's clarification. But I think it's just a matter of English mix-up, like the Englishman would say. Because now, when I listened to the video firsthand, I felt like he did not say that the Yoruba nation are political rascals. It's just more like that, this is not a fight against the Igbos and Yorubas. It was just, some political rascals that, carried out those activities. So it's not more like it was the Yoruba nation that, carried out that particular activity. That was my own interpretation of what I just heard. But then it's more like, the Fani-Kayode is asking him, come explain. Why would you say that the Yoruba nation is, they are political rascals? I don't know what your thoughts are, but I don't think that is what Iwanyanwu was saying, or, what even the Ohaneze Ndigbo would, be trying to put out there to Nigerians at this time.
Well, as far as Iwanyanwu's statement is concerned, and the Ohaneze Ndigbo at this point in time, everything Iwanyanwu said is just the truth as it is. Yes, we cannot take away the fact that most of the people who issued those statements belong to the Yoruba extraction. Yes, we can also take away the fact that those utterances have led to, the rise and proliferation of violence against particularly the Igbos, because let's not forget, it was not just the Igbos that were targeted during the just concluded election. It also had the Yorubas themselves who were not voting for the APC.
Yes.
So it was a matter of people within the Yoruba extraction targeting mainly the Igbos, and then every other ethnic group who was not voting for the APC in Lagos State. So first and foremost, I'd like for us to move away from, singling out a particular ethnic minority or ethnicity as the target of those, political violence in Lagos State. But then, I think anybody who understands English and the semantics of English would understand that, first he said, the Igbos are no longer going to sit by the fence to watch their brothers and sisters being murdered. That is what any elder statesman would do or say or would rise to the occasion. And then he went further to say, we have unanimously agreed that from today going forward, anybody who goes after an Igbo person, we are all collectively going to fight the person. That is also very much within his rights, because if you're going after an Igbo, you're going after my brother. So I have to defend myself and I have to defend my brother. It was well within his rights. And then he went a step further to say, we do not have any issues with the Yoruba nation. We know that what is happening is just the job, the mechanizations of some political rascals. So for the Yorubas that they're Fani-Kayode coming out to say, oh, we need clarification, it therefore means there's also somebody within that Fani-Kayode extraction who doesn't understand what is happening, or probably understand but is seeking to heat up the polity, because that statement in itself is self-explanatory. We do not have any issues with the Yorubas.
Declare that first of all.
So we do not have any issues with the Yorubas. The only issue we have are with the political rascals who are, of course, within the Yoruba extraction. So if the Fani-Kayode is coming out to say we need clarification or taking any other auction, it therefore means maybe the Yoruba, the Fani-Kayode are also backing these political rascals. So if they come out to tell Nigerians, yes, we know these rascals are Yorubas and we are backing these rascals, then that can be understandable from their standpoint, or why they would take any further measures against the Igbos or the statement that has just been made. But aside from those on the ground individual or personal interest, then this statement is self-explanatory and shouldn't be able to, even generate the kind of reactions that is coming.
Keep the conversation within the context, because had he not said that, we do not have any problem with the Yorubas before saying that, it would have been like, okay, this is what he meant. But he clearly stated there is no problem between the Igbos and the Yorubas. I mean, we've made investments into this country, but the problem therein is with the political rascals, that arose within this season to make trouble. It's not targeted against any ethnic group. So I feel like elder statement, because the Fani-Kayode also is filled with, it's more like the conglomeration of elder statement for the Yoruba nation. I feel like elder statement should also think things through before throwing it out there. I mean, this conversation is already trending on the front page of our national dailies, so that you don't have, brother A telling sister B that we cannot have this conversation because our father said. Do you understand? So we should keep things contextually. I feel like, that man's speech right there is self-explanatory, it's clear, in his speech. We are not going to take the things that are being done against the Igbos, but then we do not have a direct problem with any other ethnic group. We only have problem with the political rascals of that extraction, and it can be across board anywhere. I mean, the politics played even in Akwa Ibom State, you have some people that are not in agreement. You won't say that everybody in Akwa Ibom is an enemy, but we always have bad eggs, So when we're talking political rascals, I mean, look at the likes of MC Oluomo, who came out and just made a speech, unsolicited, and that played out vehemently the very next day during the elections. Won't you call that political rascality? It's exactly what it is. But let's not, take words out of context and try to heat up the polity. I think that's where the problem just lies right now.
Well, like I said, for the Fani-Kayode to, come out to question the Hanese and Dibo and demand for the clarification, it simply shows there is a skeleton in somebody's cupboard somewhere that needs to be looked into. Because if they were being elder statement, then they wouldn't jump at the statement that has been very much clear in itself, that we do not have any issues with the Igbo or the Yorubas. We just have issues with the rascals who happen to be Yorubas and who are causing this problem. So that is a statement that is well within the the rights of any Nigerian. And if you look at the Igbos in Nigeria, these are the one group of persons who would invest in any location they find themselves. There are businessmen, and across the respective states of the federation, you always find an investment that has been done by an Igbo person. So they are clearly saying, enough of you waking up in your respective, states to tell us, go. We are all Nigerians.
And
as far as
I said we are here. We are
yes.
staying here. We're going nowhere. This country belongs to all of us. Let's make it comfortable for everybody. You can't wake up tomorrow and tell me I cannot stay here. This land was given to all of us. It's Nigeria. We all belong here. So let's do things in a way that makes it, peaceful for us. All right. Hello. Good morning. Let's take this particular call. Hello. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good morning. My name is Tony. I'm calling from Benue State.
All right. Good
Welcome.
morning, Tony.
Okay. I think organizers should be trying to gather things in a maturity way. What am I saying this? Have they gone to Lagos to see the shops that have been burnt? Have they visited Lagos and visited those that are in affliction there? What I expected them to do is to visit Lagos. Visit Lagos. Visit Oba of Lagos. Visit their leaders in Yoruba land. It doesn't end talking, gathering a crowd and talking, and it ends there. What happened to Igbo people in Lagos we have not experienced it in life. Where people is being caged in a way that is as if they are not living in their own country. Speaking in television, talking all this, it will just end up like that, and it will cause more problem to people living in Lagos. I think there is more mature way to handle this thing instead of coming to talk and go. Because most things, mostly organizers, they just come, talk and go. I've never seen anything that is happening to Igbo in Nigeria that they stood up and fight it and then follow it in a maturity way. They just came out and talk and go. And that is how they have been doing. The problem in Lagos, as it is now, is more than talking and go. There is some stakeholder that they're supposed to meet and then table their case before them. It's quite unfortunate. As he's talking in television, it just end there and nothing good will come out of it.
All right, thank you so much.
And when you talk and go.
Thank you, Tony. We also want to find out from you, how are you following our frequency? Is it on DTH or on the free-to-air?
No, we are doing it on StarTime dish, and it's as another thing. It's clear.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. We need to know because we changed our frequency. Thank you. All right, so for just why we asked that question, on DTH we are still on 421, but on we have changed our frequency for the free to air, so that's 12733. Rescan your decoder, and so you can follow us and not miss out on our conversation. But Tony Eze from Benue State raised really serious concerns. They, like he said, Ohanis and Igbo should not just sit down and have verbal conversations. Don't just talk. Go down to the grassroots of the issue and handle it, like he rightly suggested. I mean, a meeting with the leadership of the Yoruba nation, like I said earlier, the Fani-Kayode is made up of elder statement of the Yoruba nation. So just go ahead. Let's have a meeting and let's talk. Let's iron out issues. Why are we having this kind of problem between ourselves as brothers? So Tony is saying he has a problem with the Ohanese just coming out and saying, this, but you never go down to the root of the issue. We have another call. Let's take that now. Hello, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Akachuku. I'm calling from Lagos.
All right, Akachuku, go ahead.
Good. But the person that speaks last now, he hit a point. What he said is true. I know Igbo people. I know the other Igbo people. As they speak on television, that's where it will end. But it's not supposed to be so. They're supposed to come to Lagos, meet above Lagos. Imagine in this election, governor election and the presidential election, above Lagos will be threatening Igbo. Come out in television and say, if you don't vote for APC, they will drag Igbo to Lagoon. And those elderly Igbo people in East or everywhere, they are hearing that. So you can't just come out on television and say, yes, we are not have problem with Yoruba, but there is problem on the ground. So they're supposed to come and meet those elderly Yoruba people, the Oba and Co. That, see, we don't like this comment. We don't like this attitude. Because there is one thing I always telling police people in Nigeria. Police people will see that fire is coming, problem is coming, they will sit down. Until when that problem take life, you will see them now wake up, say, hey, what is going on? What are we going to do? This and that. But you see that fire is coming up. Instead for you to quench that fire before you now enter the roof, you are there waiting until when the problem has damaged some life before you now stand up and know what to do. So Igbo people, the other Igbo people need to come Lagos, meet a Fani-Kayode group, meet Obas, and warn them and talk one-on-one with them so that peace can go on.
All right, thank you.
You see, this country belongs to all of us.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much, Akachuku. You've made
And I don't want war to happen again in this country.
We definitely do not want that.
What would not happen?
We definitely do not want that. Thank you,
Thank you.
Akachuku.
But
We'd
the
also
way
like
it's
to
coming,
find out. No, we would have peace as a nation, just like if we have our elder statement, do the right thing. So we'd like to find out: are you on
start times on free to air?
Free to air.
I'm free to air.
Okay, on the new frequency.
No, I'm with they call it unique sat.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much. Thanks for the feedback.
I got you people from unique sat.
Okay. So maybe you will rescan your decoder so that you can follow us on 12733. Okay, you're good. All right, thank you very much, Akachuku. Really
I used to get you people every day.
All right,
thank you so much.
Thank you for the feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Bye-bye.
that's Akachuku's word. So now it feels like, and then these are actually Igbo men calling. And they're saying we have a problem with how, our elders handle issues. They're just going to come up and say these things on the surface and not go down to the roots.
I think we have another caller. I'll come back to your response.
Definitely.
Hello, welcome to Rise and Shine. Your name and where you're calling from?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're speaking with Austin from Kano.
Austin from Kano. All right, thanks for calling in. Please go ahead with your thoughts.
What I'm trying to say, to chip into what my brothers just said right now, is this. It's absurd because I don't understand. This governor, this Oba of Lagos, as an elderly man and as a king, are you not supposed to, utterances you're not supposed to make? People are looking at okay, if he's saying this such a thing, what are we, the younger ones, looking up to? If our elders that will come out on national television, come outside globally to be saying all sorts of atrocities from their mouth, what are we, the junior ones, the ones that are coming up, what are we emulating from them? What are we emulating for them? They are not paving a better way for us. Just imagine Fani-Kayode come outside saying all kind of bigot statements that are not supposed to. Look at the way the election went in Lagos. In Lagos, fighting, killing people, restricting a particular tribe from not differentiating a particular tribe. That is not fair. Destroying things that belong to one particular people. It's not fair. Me, on my own part, what I'm thinking about this whole thing is that I feel that it's just out of jealousy. The Yorubas are jealous. They are envy of the Igbos.
We really can't allow you to say such things on air, but thank you for your call. Yeah, we can't push such conversation, but thank you very much for your call this morning.
Okay, thank you very much, Austin. But before we let you go, I'd like to know how.
He's already offline, but it's good. I think as a way of feedback, we'd like for you, if you're watching us currently, if you could send us a text message or a WhatsApp message notifying us on how you are, accessing Spectrum Television, we really would appreciate that feedback so that we are up to speed how well our coverage is doing, especially with the move to the free to air. But then I think there's a lot of concerns with how our elders are handling issues. I remember back here in Akwa Ibom State, one of the illustrious sons of the country, Onofield Luke, had said one time to elder statesmen in the state that this politics we are playing, right? We are playing it the way you people have shown us. Because I like to ask often, when we say that Nigeria will get better, even if this crop of politicians die naturally, we are saying some of them are in their 80s. Push comes to shove, 10, 15 years down the line, most of them are going to be gone. When we hand over the baton of leadership to the next generation, are we going to be seeing different in the polity of our country? Or, like some of these people are saying, what our elders have shown us, is it the same way we are going to continue handling issues in this country?
Well, it's a very big challenging situation for Nigerians, but I'll come from two sides. Using the story of two children who had a drunk as a father. One turned out to be the CEO of a flourishing industry, and then another turned out to be a drunk, just like the father. So it comes down to perspective. It comes down to how we as the young generation look at this thing. But unfortunately, sadly, we might not be seeing a different change, a change in the narrative of what is happening in our politics, because we are looking at a political system where you have godfatherism, and these godfathers are training people they intend to take over from them. So it's going to be the same kind of tradition passed down from one generation to the other, unless, of course, we have youngsters who are able to rise past whatever ideologies their godfather had given to them, to look at the issue of national unity, the issue of national collaboration, the issue of putting the interests of Nigerians at heart as against their personal interests and that of the people within their immediate circle. Unless we get to see persons within Nigeria of the different age group who might be taking on, or you will be taking up power from these aged politicians, then we're still going to see the same thing. Recall the issue that have been traced to MC Olomo. So let's say Lagos State, we have MC Olomo, the likes of MC Olomo, coming up as the governor of Lagos State sometime in life. What do you think is going to happen? Is MC Olomo and his strays of people who have been loyal to him over time, and those are the crop of people who are going to take up key positions of leadership in Lagos State. So with those crop of people taking over the leadership, what kind of mentorship are they going to give to the incoming generation? Is the same thing. And what the worst case scenario this might be is the younger generation might end up being worse than the former generation, because they're further emboldened by the different years that they have seen things happening without anybody being prosecuted for it. So the only way we can see a change in the narrative of Nigerian politics is if, by some special grace of God, by some divine intervention, the younger generation taking over come from a completely different cut from those who are loyal to this present crop of politicians.
Exactly. It's a major problem, but a lot of these things, they've already eaten deep into the fabric of our nation. And like some of our callers have said this morning, we do hope that our elder statesmen, have a wherewithal to, like, I think it was Akachuku who said it. We are seeing fire coming from a distance. It's important that, our elder statesmen, whether it is from the Ohanese Ndigbo extraction or the Fani-Kayode extraction, and even the leadership of this country, the Nigeria Police Force, the security force, what is the federal government saying, about these issues that's, continuing to brew a lot of tension. Now, we are having the Fani-Kayode ask that Ohanese comes and explain what Iwanyam was, what he meant by the statement that he made, on TV. So this is already a problem. And like one of our callers said, this is already fire from a distance. Why don't we stem it now that it has not gotten to the roof? These and more are issues that are happening around the country, and we need to protect the sanity and the sanctity of this country while we can. But let's take a very quick break, and when we return, we'll be bringing you our focus conversation, of course, still on the heels of the just concluded cycle of the general elections. Do stay with us.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, We paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by gross level. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court, my lord.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Glad to welcome you back. It's still Rise and Shine coming to you live on Spectrum Television. Of course, we're beaming live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. So far, a lot has been said as far as the different happenings across the respective states in Nigeria is concerned. And we are moving to the major focus. We're talking about the just concluded elections. I've seen a lot of reactions coming from Nigerians, from the respective political parties, and of course the international communities as to the validity and the authenticity of the election result that INEC used in announcing President-elect Ahmed Bola Tinubu. And of course, the state elections which took place on the 18th of March also has seen a lot of reactions from the state level. Here in Akwa Ibom State, we're talking about the PDP, the APC rather, the YPP, not being in tandem with the result that was collated and announced. We move to other states. In Lagos State, for instance, we have the Labour Party candidate also contesting the result that saw Sanwo-Olu's re-election as the governor of Lagos State. Adamawa Binani is also questioning the outcome of the result, which has been declared inconclusive. And you'll recall that shortly after the collation was done, with many of the local government already in the bag, she was already being celebrated and congratulated as the first female governor ever to be elected in the history of Nigeria. And of course, these and many more, we take a mind back to Abia State, where but for the smooth and brave Amazonian interference, or should we call it the intervention of the returning officer, who vowed and said, and I quote her, that her moral instinct, her maternal instinct, and of course a standpoint as a mother would not allow her to do that level of injustice to the Abia people. And then she went ahead to announce the Labour Party, Alex Oti, as the governor-elect of Abia State. Of course, an action that has generated a lot of reactions, commendations, and praise from within and outside the shores of Nigeria. We move to Enugu State, where there's been a lot of reports, and of course to River State, where we've also seen lots of reports, particularly coming out from Abiapo, where there were reports of very serious rigging and lots of other electoral offenses. All of these have led to the many litigations, numbering over 100 as we speak, in the respective courts, as far as the authenticity, the validity, and the accuracy of the electoral reports result that was used to announce this respective governor and deputy governor-elect into the office. All of these are why we want to focus at this point, because INEC has voted over 3 billion naira to defend what they call the 23 February 25 and March 18 elections at the tribunal. A whooping 3 billion naira. And I'm sitting down and calculating the amount of money. and I'm looking at the amount that was budgeted for the just concluded elections, and then adding that to what is being voted to defend election results, and I'm asking Nigeria which way?
Exactly, Nigeria which way? Because I think that is the baseline for this question and this, conversation. How much did we vote and use for the just concluded election that was marred with the kind of flaws that have been reported, widely? We're talking of local and international reports of how mad the elections were. And we're talking almost $1 billion US that was used for the just concluded cycle of election. And they're saying we should vote another 3 billion naira for you to use and defend your flaws. It doesn't make sense how we are, how the leaders of our country are trying to steer the activities of this nation. We're already in a time where we are talking about a major economic meltdown as a country and even globally. And you're trying to use the electoral umpire to become another source of economic waste for us as a nation. Why 3 billion? I mean, and we even have the fact that the lawyers are saying this 3 billion will not even be enough. Someone had said, when we come to litigation of post-election issues, this is the time that the lawyers and the senior advocates get to cash out. It's their turn to eat. And we are seeing one of the conversations that has really trailed us in recent weeks is the amount of connivance that we are seeing in our public offices and in our system. Because when you have lawyers on one hand saying, this amount you're even voting will not be enough, and then INEC is saying we need 3 billion to go and explain why we failed. Why we failed the people, because in their calculation they feel like this is one of the best elections that they have done for the country. But from the eyes of Nigerians, most Nigerians do not share the same sentiment.
Well, Professor Mahmood Yakubu and his team of Rex, apart from a few who have refused to mortgage their morality, their sense of consciousness, and their commitment to the service to Nigerians, would be playing a serious game if they do not get to talk about what is happening exactly the way it is. Now, let's look at the elections. For the first time in the history of Nigeria, we're looking at both the international communities, election analysts within and outside the shores of Nigeria, agreeing on one basic thing. And what is that basic thing? The fact that the just concluded elections was greatly marked by a lot of irregularities. It was also conducted not in line with the provisions of the 2023 Electoral Act or 2022 Electoral Act. Talking about e-transfer of results, it did not happen. INEC had promised Nigerians consistently that there's going to be electronic transfer of result from the respective polling unit. That was what they used to promise Nigerians, but nothing happened. Absolutely nothing. INEC failed Nigerians. You move away from that. As far as disenfranchising Nigerians is concerned, there have been different reports of the fact that across the respective states of the Federation, there have been voter intimidation. There have been voter oppression. There have been voter suppression. We've had instances where you have a lot of Nigerians being disenfranchised at the respective polling unit. We've had stories and video evidences, footage surfacing across the respective streets in Nigeria, where you find security personnel at the respective polling unit, yet you find talks walking into those respective polling units and intimidating voters. Those videos are all over the internet. Now, one thing that we also have to understand that these foreign electoral observers, they do not just speak. They don't use just the normal conventional tools to gather their intelligence. These are persons who are well-trained investigators. These are persons who have their roots across the respective polling units, across the respective local government areas in Nigeria, across the respective states. So for the first time in the history of Nigerians, the US and the foreign bodies are often calling on INEC, prove to us. Now, is the best way to prove hiring of senior advocates of Nigeria to defend in court? What happens to simply telling Nigerians and showing the evidence that this was actually what was done? So in the lines of Nigerians, it seems like this is another way for INEC to siphon, or this is another way for INEC to further waste away the Nigerian money that we are still looking for. Nigeria is in debt, but instead of finding a way to sort out those debts, we are having government agencies budget huge sum of money to defend something that in the first place would not have need defending if they had done due diligence, if they had complied with the provisions of the Electoral Act, if they had ensured that at the respective polling unit justice was served, if the security agencies in collaboration with the INEC had done what needed to be done throughout the elections, from the National Assembly to the presidential and now the state elections, we would not have gotten to this point. So it's a laughable situation for Nigerians, and the international community are still watching to see what is going to happen. But I'd like to join voices with some of Nigerians who believe that for the first time, maybe this is the first time Nigeria is going to have a very historic transition. Because as far as Peter Obi is still in court, as far as Atiku Abubakar is still in court, as far as we have a lot of other gubernatorial candidates and candidates across the respective elective positions in court, the outcome of the court verdicts is going to tell Nigerians whether or not the elections were credible. It's also going to tell Nigerians whether or not we are even ready for the change. And then it's also going to show whether President Muhammadu Buhari was very sincere about his promise to Nigerians to bequeath a functional, transparent, trustworthy institution as far as the election process is concerned.
You have raised, all the valid points that they are and all the valid questions that they are to this particular situation. Do we really want to go this route as the country at this time? Like we have said, we've seen different, would I say, new kids rise on the block of our politics in this country, and it's not going to go down without a fight. So, and it's not going to go down without a fight, so to speak. So we have to be ready. But I think I'm more concerned at how willing we are to waste the resources, more like the lean resources of our nation, over things that can be handled differently. Why are we voting 3 billion naira? Do you know what 3 billion naira can do for a sector in this country? We are crying for how debilitating our health sector is. Let's say we close our eye and pump 3 billion into the health sector. Do you know how far out that can bring us, even if it doesn't solve the entire problem? We have the education sector on one side, and you're asking us to add additionally to the money that you just spent on, what do we call it, on carrying out an election. You want us to put 3 billion naira on that for you to use and explain to us why the beavers did not work as was promised by Yakubu Mahmood. Prior to the elections, we had, even when he went to the interview at Chatham House, he continued to vehemently promise the fact that, the insertion of the new technology was the new kid on the block that was going to change all the trajectory for the election. And we saw how negatively that did, as opposed to all the promises that we made. We need to see people in this country who sit down with policies, interpret it to fit the need of our country, not just lofty ideas that will further permit us into, further tragedies as a nation. This is laughable. This is worrisome, and we do hope that somehow, Francis, the federal government does not append to this request by the electoral umpire, actually.
Well, that is something that Nigerians cannot bet, even depend on. That might not happen. If we had the CBN and the presidency sign off on the Naira redesign without doing due diligence, regardless of the warning from the international communities, including the IMF, it just so seems that, the words of Fani-Kayode, the government doesn't want to listen to people when they're being told the exact truth, or being told the bitter truth that maybe you're not ready for this policy, maybe you don't have enough to take care of this policy. They're not interested in it. They simply want to exercise their powers and muscle and show that, yes, we are the federal government and the leadership of Nigeria is on our shoulders. But then it pays to listen. It pays to look at things constructively, critically, evaluate them, look at them and ensure that, there are no loopholes. Look at the way we are suffering in Nigeria before, during, and after the elections. You have money, but you cannot access your money. People have been forced to do unthinkable things. People have died because they could not access their money. Just because people who are saddled with the responsibility of thinking out policies that would affect the millions of Nigerians have failed in those responsibilities. And nobody has gone in for it. Godwin Emefiele simply came out to say sorry. What has been done to him? Nothing.
A lot of questions, a lot of matters are rising, but this is Rise and Shine, and it's been a very fulfilling Monday morning doing this with you. We want to say a big thank you to everyone who called in and made their contribution. We have a lot of requests for the people who are leading us in our country. We do hope that in the next couple of weeks and the next couple of months to end 2023, that they do and make policies and uproars in such a way that gives us peace in our nation. But this is the much that we can take on Rise and Shine this morning, and we want to say a very big thank you to everyone who was a part of a successful production. My name is Uyai Anyeka, and I will definitely see you again tomorrow.
And I am Frank Cizadet. You have a lovely week ahead.